Bringing you the voice and vision of custom culture and lifestyle, as seen through the eyes of this South Texas duo. Welcome to the Custom Couple. Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Custom Couple, and we are in our monthly episode with our friend Gregg Ovist from GEEZZUP.com. What's going on, Greg?
Nothing much, man. What's going on with you guys?
Oh, nothing. We are enjoying some nice but hot weather in San Antonio right now. It is absolutely snow cone season.
Yeah, here in Phoenix, man, it's getting warm pretty quick. I mean, it was, I think, 98 last week, and it's going to keep growing. So,
oh wow,
I'm getting a little nervous charging the AC in the truck.
We've actually gotten some news stories come out in a few spots where some of the power plants in Texas have shut down because of the heat getting so crazy, and they're requesting that people turn their ACs up so it's not so much of a drain on the power plants. But yeah, not in Texas, man. We do not turn that AC up for nothing. It stays at 69 degrees all the time in this house.
That's pretty cool. You got to stay comfortable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and especially here in South Texas, it's humid and 100 degrees today. So no, thank you. I will not be turning that AC up.
I don't blame you.
So I was out and about today, and you send me pictures like you jumped into a game of Grand Theft Auto and hijacked a money truck. So we're going to talk about that today. What is going on with you and armored trucks?
Oh my gosh, I have a great story on that. I've always personally built custom trucks for shows, for magazines, for the SEMA show, for marketing with companies. And I've always wanted to do a truck that was second to none. Because when you go to these shows, you see lifted trucks, lowered trucks, custom trucks, but you don't really see anything besides that. So I remember watching the movie, The Italian Job. I don't know if you remember that movie.
That was the one with the Mini Coopers.
Yeah, the Mini Coopers and the gold heist.
Yeah.
And in that show, they had 3 armored trucks in a couple of the scenes. And I saw that truck, and I'm like, you know what? An armored truck would be pretty kick-ass to build. So that was obviously many years ago. And I wanted a specific armored truck. I mean, you could go online and buy an armored truck. You can buy International and Fords and Chevys. But I wanted the International, specifically the 4500 series, that has a slant windshield. The slant windshield makes the armored truck look kind of chopped or lowered.
Yep.
So I was always on the move looking for these trucks, and they are not out there. They're just, I mean, you could Google them and all that, but they're just hard to find, and they weren't built very long. So I ended up finding one here in Phoenix, I would say, I don't know, a dozen years ago. This gentleman had a handful of pawn shops, and he would buy armored trucks, and he would wrap them with his marketing information and brand them and just park them out front of his pawn shops. So I'd go in his pawn shop because he had the International slant windshield was one of them. So I went in there. And said, "Hey, are these trucks ever for sale? You know, what are you gonna do with it?" He's like, "Nope, they're not for sale. I'm keeping them. Don't hassle me. Don't bother me. You know, kind of get out of my store, kind of thing." And the manager's like, "Oh, he's so sorry, man. He's just a grumpy old guy." He's like, "No, those trucks aren't for sale. Everyone's always asking, but they're not for sale." I said, "All right, no problem." So I just, go on with the rest of my life, still hunting for them, can never find one. And he ended up consolidating his pawn shops into one because he was getting ready to retire. He had some health issues. So he sold a couple of the shops, and he brought all these armored trucks just to his main location here in Phoenix. So I'm like, hey, he's downsizing. He's doing something. So let me go in and check in with him. So I go, "Hey, how's it going? I go check in with him, and I said, so what's the deal with these trucks? It was like you're doing something with them. He's like, don't touch them. They're my trucks. And no, they're not for sale. I said, okay, all right. Again, it's the same store manager. That's like, hey, Greg, don't worry about it. He says they're not for sale. He says, but we closed 2 locations, we sold properties, so now we're just having them out front on this one location. So went on, and this is going on 6-7 years.
Oh wow.
And it's gone on for a long time, and still trying to hunt down this slant windshield international truck. There was one in California, but it was wrecked and repaired. It was in terrible condition. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that one. And, just kind of always had it on my list. So one day that manager guy, his name is Rich, he calls me. He said, hey, Greg, still interested in these armored trucks? I said, still? I said, I always have been. I've never not been interested in that one truck. He's like, well, he says, sad to say the owner passed away, recently.
Oh man.
And yeah, it was kind of a sad deal. He had a long run, very old school, classy guy. But the manager kept my number, and I guess he was now representing the family on some liquidation of things. And he asked me, hey, are you interested in that truck still? I said, absolutely. I said, and I'm not here to underpay anyone. I'll pay a fair price of what the gentleman was asking, just without the grumpiness to it. He said, come on by, let's meet next week. So I'm like, I'm excited. Finally, this international slant nose is available for me. So, or an option. So I go by there and I meet him, and it's the first time I can really look at the truck because I could never even open the doors or touch it.
Right.
So he gets the keys, and I open the doors, and the interior's all original. It has the seats, it has all the rugged gun slots, it has the money trays in the back, it has a big massive AC unit in the back to keep people cool. And when getting in this truck, no joke, it's like walking into a jail cell. When that door closes behind you, you're in. There's no out of it. So it has a weird feel to it when you're inside one of these trucks.
I bet.
But yeah, I'm excited. So I'm checking it out. Now I'm realizing I pull the hood and I open up the hood. I find out some things have been vandalized, and there's radiators missing. Some wires are cut from the harnesses. Just some vandalism that's happened while it was just sitting in all these locations. So I asked him, I said, well, what's the deal on this? He's like, well, it's for sale. He says, but here's the deal. He says, we're selling all 4. So it's either all of them or none.
Oh, damn.
I said, what? He's like, we're not doing piecemeal. If you want this truck, you got to buy all 4 of them. So I'm like, oh, man, what in the heck am I going to, that's not my plan at all.
Right.
And I had to have, if I was to pull a deal, they had to be off the property in 4 days. So now I'm so close to getting this deal, and now I'm slide right back down the hill of this probably won't work out after all these years. So I don't discourage the idea because I just, I like transactions, and, I know people, refer people. So I'm like, first of all, what's the status of the paperwork on these trucks? He's like, well, 2 of them we can't find the title, so they have to be filed on, get inspection. One of them, we only have a photocopy of it, so a duplicate would have to be requested. And the one that you want, all we have is a photocopy of the lien release. That's all we have right now, but we're still going through documents. I said, well, I'm not in a position to buy vehicles at all unless there's, the information's valid, the documentation's there. So I'm not going to have any transaction until I get some validity to that.
Yeah.
I understand that. He says, but they're going to be gone within the week no matter what. So I said, okay, well, let's revisit this tomorrow. He's going to go back and get with the family and go through some more documents. So I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, you know what? Let me really put my arms around this deal, because this is the truck I've wanted for all these years. So I called up that same evening. I said, you know what? What's the deal on all 4 of them? What's the deal? And he gave me a price, and I was like, nah, that's no way that's going to happen. So I said, but I will start to evaluate the deal on all 4. So he's like, well, it was late in the day. So he's like, hey, I'll go with the family tonight and let's touch base tomorrow. I said, sounds good. So he calls me in the morning and says, hey, let's go meet over there and I'll show you what paperwork I have. I said, sounds great. We go there. He really didn't have any more valid paperwork. He just had more history of the paperwork, but didn't have any clear titles or anything like that.
Yeah.
He did show me some information that would make it easier for me to get the documentation I needed. So I made an offer on all 4 trucks. And I said, look, you don't have any valid documentation on these trucks. I said, you want them gone by the end of the week, which is like 4 days from now. And I said, none of them run. You only have keys to 2 of them. And these things are 20,000 pounds each.
Yeah. That's not easily moved or easily sold, resold.
No, I mean, these things require heavy wrecker towing. So these are 500 tows each right off the top for each of them.
Yeah, and with the cost of scrap these days, like you're not getting anything for it, so it probably wouldn't even cover the tow.
That's right. So I was like, I'll give you an offer, but this is my offer and this is the reasons why. And I said, we could do the transaction today and you and I could just sort through the paperwork next week and I'll start moving them. So he called the family and they accepted my offer. Shockingly, they accepted my offer. So I ended up owning 4 armored trucks that afternoon when I only wanted one
Gregg
of them.
Ovist gets added to watch lists daily.
Right? Could not believe it. So now I bought these trucks. Now I have the one I want though, but now I got to figure out to do something with these other 3 because I have no intention on moving them to any other location. So first of all, I take care of my truck. So I go to my buddy at the public storage and like, hey, I need a spot now. He pulled a couple favors. He got me a spot. I called a wrecker buddy of mine. Says, hey, there's this international truck. Here's a screenshot that I have ownership of it. I need it picked up pretty quick. So my truck I get mine moved and in storage before the end of that next day. So now I have basically 3 more days to do something with 3 other armored trucks. So basically my whole schedule was blown that week because now this was the priority.
Yeah.
So what I do is I pay a guy to go to the property and detail all 3 of them right there on site. Don't even touch them, just wash them because they've been sitting for years and years and years.
Just knock the dust off the top of them, huh?
Get the dust off them, get them clean. I had a company go put a couple tires on them so they would roll because, tires were popped and flat.
Mm-hmm.
So I got them cleaned up, got tires on them, and I posted them. I'm like, you know what? I have no reason to get rich off these 3. I got the truck I wanted. I put a very fair price on them. Had a little bit of margin for myself and my time and my cost, stuff like that. And posted them. Within 2 hours, I probably had 30 people.
Really?
Wanting them. Oh, yeah. Like, unbelievable. I was shocked. And I wasn't giving them away. I put a fair, reasonable price on those trucks that I was willing to negotiate, and I didn't have to negotiate. Like, people just wanted them.
That is so awesome.
It really was. One was an older, like a 70s Ford. Then there was a 70s Chevy, I'm talking about like the drivetrains.
Yeah. And
then there was like another 90s International, just like mine, but not the slant windshield. So first guy, I kind of sort through the calls and stuff like that and find out who's, kind of qualify them before I waste my time. And are you serious? You understand what this is going to take? One guy's like, yep, I know exactly what's involved. I want this truck. When can I meet you? I said, well, I'm 30 minutes away. So I go there and he's there waiting for me. And what's interesting is he got there before my guy picked up my truck. He was trying to buy the truck I wanted. I'm like, no. Well, that's not the one. I want this one. I'm like, nope, that's getting picked up in like 45 minutes. That's off the plate. That's not even an option. So, because he's like, "Oh, I love this one." I'm like, "Don't even look at it more than 10 seconds because it's not going to happen."
Yep.
And to myself, I'm like, "This is the truck that got me in this situation." So, yeah, off the plate. So we go back to the truck that he was interested in, and he was a real estate agent, and he wanted to wrap the truck and have it for his marketing program.
There you go.
He did. So he was like, I really want it. And he paid my price right then and there. He's like, I'll take it. We did a full walk around on the truck. I did have keys for it. I did have a power of attorney that I was able to give to him. So he had, the keys, some valid documentation to get the title. He was in a good spot. And I said, how long do I have to move it? I said, honestly, it needs to be gone by tomorrow. I said, but if there's any delay in that, you need to communicate it to me quickly, because the property manager is going to come clean this property up on the weekend. So he's like, all right. Do you have any phone numbers? I said, well, my guy's coming in 45 minutes from my truck. I'll just give you his number because now he's going to know where all these trucks are.
Yeah.
So he's like,
so you just drummed up some business for the tow truck driver.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So the guy came, picked up my truck. He was shocked that it was a cool armored truck because this was just a driver. He's thinking he's just picking up a regular truck, so he was all excited to look into it, and I let him sit in it and all that stuff. So after we had that, he loaded it up, took it to my spot, dropped it off, came back and got the other truck for the other guy and dropped off his truck. So now I got 2 off the property, and I got 2 more sitting there, and I have like 11, 12 more people wanting those 2 trucks. So as I'm trickling down on these trucks, these are the 2 I have no keys for. Or no, I did have keys. I had no title, no paperwork whatsoever. They had to be, I bought them on bill of sale, but I'm also, one that supports the cause. If I need to get some notary going or need to go with you, I don't just ditch people in those kind of situations. I'm always there as a partner.
Yeah.
So I'm like, here's what I have. I said, and I can help you get the inspections, and I can get some favors pulled, get it done quickly for you. I said, but these vehicles need to be gone by the weekend, and I have 10 other people at least that want it. And I said, you're the first one that's here for these remaining 2. So he's there with a buddy of his, and they're looking at them and opening them up and checking them out. And I was always told that the trucks ran and drove when they were parked. Like they were actually driven onto the property and parked. So I shared that information with the gentleman. I said, hey, last I heard, these trucks ran and drove. I said, but I can't guarantee that, but that's what I was told. And I do believe that to be valid, but don't hold me to it. So these guys are looking at these 2 older armored trucks, the 70s Ford and the 70s Chevy, and they're chatting about it. He's like, Greg, you know what? He says, and in the meantime, my phone is absolutely blowing up, like just blowing up. Like I can't even keep up with it. I just turned it off. So, and then, I have, OfferUp and Craigslist messages, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I showed the guy, and I never have done this. I showed the guy, I said, look, this is how hot these trucks are. I said, I had no idea these trucks were going to be this hot. I said, but I'm not showing you this in a way to pressure you. I'm showing you in a way like, wow.
Yeah. I wouldn't have imagined armored trucks to be, a popular item. Of course, folks like you and I, of course, you see a lot more of the sell of vehicles, buying and selling and going to the auctions and stuff. Everybody out there is buying a car for a different reason. And
that's right.
For myself, I've always just, bought old cars because that's what I'm into. And, it's always cool to look cool. Right.
It is.
But then I never think about the fact that, there's people out there that are buying things like armored trucks and tow trucks and things like that and trying to start businesses. So
that's right.
Is that what was going on with these guys, that they're looking to try to get into a business of some sort with them?
Well, no, the one guy was the realtor, so he was a marketing, his was based off marketing. These other 2 guys I really didn't know. But I showed them, how these trucks were kind of hot, and I was like, you know what? I'm just showing you this because if you ever had to sell this truck, like people are going to want it. So him and his buddy talked. I mean, I'm standing there in the parking lot for probably 15 minutes, just avoiding phone calls at that point. And he comes back. He says, "Greg," he says, "make me a deal on both of them." I said, "Really?" He's like, "We want both of
Oh, wow.
them." Inside, I'm like, score. Like, if I can make a deal on these two right now, then I'm clean. I'm fresh. I got my truck. It's over with. All within 3 days. So I threw him an offer on both trucks, and he bought them right then and there, paid cash.
Wow.
Yeah, he took both of them, and I was shocked at that because I did not really negotiate that price either. I said I took a few bucks off for towing and said this is my deal, and he's like, "I'll take both of them." So I'm like ecstatic. In 2.5 days, I got rid of 3 trucks, and I acquired the one I wanted. So I call him. I said, after we did the transaction, I gave him the paperwork I had for bill of sale and, all my email, like, "Hey, if you need me to go to MVD with you next week, let's meet up. It's not just over today. I'm not that guy." And I said, are you able to get these off the property by tomorrow or Saturday? I said, "Here's my concern. The property management wants it off. I would hate for you to buy this truck from me tonight and then have them get them impounded."
Right, yeah.
Right? I said, "That's the concern." He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "I want to make sure you're aware of that, and I want to help you." So I said, "Hey, I got this tow guy that's already moving 2 trucks." I said, "Let me give you his number. I guarantee you he'll come get these ones for you." He's like, "Perfect." So he calls the guy, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm off today. I can't really get him." So, the guy's calling me saying, "Hey, do you know of anyone else that can tow these things?" I'm like, "I really don't, but let me reach out to a couple people." So him and I that following Friday are just trying to get a tow guy that can get these picked up quickly. In the meantime, the family is cool with us, but it's the property management that's not. So we're trying to like, hey, they'll be gone by tomorrow, they'll be gone by tonight, and over communicating to make sure there's no disconnects. And Friday night, we didn't have anyone to pick up the trucks.
Oh, no.
I said, "Well, hey, let's hit this thing first thing in the morning." I said, "And either way, I'm going to help you get these trucks picked up. Like, I'll throw some money back in the pot just to get it done." He's like, "Cool." So Saturday morning, I'm running an errand early, and I drive by, and the trucks are gone.
Oh, no.
So I know. I'm like, because you could see the parking lot like from the freeway. So I'm like, "Oh man, these trucks are gone." So I called him. I said, "Hey," and he didn't answer like 2 or 3 times, and it was kind of early. So he finally answered, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Hey, I just drove by there, and the trucks are gone." He's like, "I know." I said, "So what happened?" He's like, "Greg, you're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What?" He says, "My mechanic and I went to that parking lot in the middle of the night." He says, "We got one of them running."
Oh.
And we drove it down, and his shop is only like 5 miles down the street. So he said, "We got one of them running and driving enough to move it." He said, "And then we took a strap and towed the second one with the first one."
No way.
I said, "So you drove an armored truck down the street at 2 a.m. with no tags, towing another armored truck down the street with no tags to your shop?" He's like, "Oh, it was the best thing, Greg. You would have died."
Oh my God. Can you imagine the story? Bank robbers stealing armored trucks.
Right.
Because whatever cop pulled them over was going to be like, "Oh, I just made my career. I just caught the bank robbers before they did the heist."
Right. I'm like, he's like, "Greg, our adrenaline was so high you couldn't even imagine." I said, "So you have both of them?" He's like, "They're both at my shop. No worries, dude." I'm like, "Sweet."
Oh, that is awesome.
It really was. It was a great story. We were laughing so hard. I said, "Can you imagine like just the people that were like on the bus that night or walking down the street that saw you go down the road?"
So, just another day in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So then I'm like, I was like, "I told you they ran."
Oh, that is wild. I wonder what it took to get them running. Probably a dead battery, a little bit of gas.
He told me it was a dead battery, some gas, and a couple belts were missing off of it. So he's like, he goes, it would have cost me $600 to tow it. He says, I got $300 in parts and I drove it. I'm like, yeah, smart.
Oh, that is wild.
I said, I'm just glad you got him, because when I drove by that lot in that early morning hour and saw him gone, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, my heart would have sunk, like same moment there. Like I would have been like, oh man, we just lost these trucks for these guys. And
Exactly.
but then you think about it too, the amount of problems you were coming up with trying to get them towed. That property manager probably would have been calling tow trucks that entire day trying to get them impounded. And who's going to impound an armored truck at the first thing in the morning?
Right. Exactly. You have to plan for that one and have some strategy before you just go pick that up on a call.
Yeah. Oh God, that is too wild.
So, and the story continues a little bit. This was Tuesday, and now Saturday, all the trucks are gone and picked up, and mine's in my storage. So I'm like, that was a hectic freaking 4 days. And the family was like, how in the heck did you do that? I said, I can't even explain it. So the good part is I did make some money on the transactions. I mean, no one got rich, but I did come out, ahead. I got the truck I wanted. It was definitely a hustle for that 4 days. So the week after that, I go back and meet the gentleman that represents the family, and he gives me the remaining paperwork he has on the truck, which all of it's photocopied. None of it is valid document. So I have a copy of the lien release. I have a copy of the title. I have the history of when he bought it, but I can't title anything with what I was given.
Yeah.
So I start digging in, and the gentleman bought the armored truck from an auction, from a commercial vehicle auction years ago. And when he bought it, he was given the lien release and the title from the auction company, but he never put it in his name.
Oh, so it's still in the auction company's name.
It's still in the lien holder's name.
Or the lien holder, yeah.
Still in the lien holder's name. So fortunately, I have all this photocopies, and I have dates, and it shows that it's notarized, and it shows that the transaction did happen on the title, but that last step was never done. So I'm like, well, first thing, let me Google this bank that's on the lien release, and get a customer service number, and just start doing that due diligence to get the paperwork. The credit union that gave the lien release is no longer in operation.
Oh no.
No longer a bank. So I'm like, wow, okay. So I do some more searching. Hey Matt, this gets good. This gets really good. So I do some more investigating, come to find out the bank that was open at that time and operating, loaned money on this vehicle. It got paid off. They gave the lien release. They went under. Well, when a bank goes under, they're FDIC certified or protected.
Right, yeah.
Right. So now every phone number I call for that bank goes straight to, you ready for this one? The FBI.
Oh my God. I knew it. You're going to end up on a list. I knew you were going to end up on a list.
I'm like, so, and then, so I'm now, there's all these, federal office contact numbers for this. If you're reaching out to this credit union for existing loans, call this federal office, call this federal office for this. So I'm like, great. So I'm like, no, I'm going to call the FBI, the federal office, and ask them, can I get the title to an armored truck?
Yep.
So now I'm still feeling like this truck's going to get seized or something. I think it's, after all this work, I'm still not going to get this freaking truck. So I have this truck in storage. So I've always done the right thing. I always do things right during the day so I don't lose sleep at night. That's always been my philosophy. Don't do anything during the day that will keep you up at night.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, let's go for the ride. So I call the number. I'm like, hey, my name's Greg. I bought this vehicle. I have a photocopy of the lien release from the bank that you took possession over. How can I get this valid documentation or a valid lien release? Well, start faxing us this and fax us this and mail us this. And I mean, there is no urgency whatsoever on this. So I go through the process and I send them everything I have. I send a notarized paper with my name on what I'm trying to do. I had to fill out a whole history of what I knew about the truck from start to finish, notarize it, and I had to certify mail it. So I'm like, well, welcome to the show, because this is going to get good.
Yeah.
So I mailed the paperwork to the FBI pretty much. And, don't hear anything for a couple weeks, obviously. And I get an email back from an agent with the federal FBI. And he says, hey, can you call me when you get a minute? I said, sure. So I call him, I tell him the whole story. And he's like, well, here's the deal. He says, Greg, he says, this is like the stuff that I deal with every day in my departments. This is an easy deal. This should be like done by tomorrow. I said, well, I would love to hear that. He's like, this is what I found out. He says, the bank gave the gentleman the lien release, but it was originally a Florida title. So it was always titled in Florida. Always. He says, so we can't do anything for you until we get a duplicate title from Florida. I said, well, here's the problem. They have no reason to give me that duplicate. He's like, I know. He says, so this is what I need you to do. He goes, I'm going to mail you something. He says, and then you attach what I mailed to you with all these notes, and you send it to the Florida MVD requesting a duplicate title. I said, perfect. So he did. He emailed me all the documents, basically giving me the authority from the FBI.
Oh, wow.
To get a duplicate title from Florida. So perfect. Like clockwork. I get everything next week. I review it. I add my stuff. I put the little $8 money order in for the duplicate title. Send it off. Certified. I email him saying, hey, it's on its way to Florida. Stay tuned. He's like, cool, Greg. Let me know how it pans out. So I don't hear anything back from Florida MVD for a couple weeks. So I call him. So I call the lady, and it goes to several different departments, and she says, yes, we do have it. She says, well, first of all, our fees went up to $12, and your money order is short because our fees went up like 60 days ago.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm like, well, your website still says $8 even now, so process it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going
right?
based off of what's on your website. You're going to adhere to that.
Right. So I tell the gentleman at the FBI, I told him that. He's like, you're kidding. I said, nope. I said, they're sending me everything back so I can resend them a money order with $4 more on it.
Oh, my God.
He's like, Greg, this is getting good. He's like, and this is the federal agent. He's like, Greg, I'm buying popcorn for this next week. I can't wait. So then I get it back in the mail, and same day, I go get a $12 money order, switch it out, send it right back certified, overnighted. The lady gets it, and she's reviewing it. I called her, did you receive it? Because I showed tracking. She said, yes, I have it. I said, can you please put this on the top of your list? She's like, absolutely, Greg. We're on it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I said, cool. So I emailed my FBI guy, and he's like, awesome, Greg. I think we're almost there. I said, me too. I said, I'll let you know when I hear back. So now he's like on my side. He's like my buddy trying to get me this freaking title.
Oh, that's the greatest.
Also, it's like an entertaining story now at this point. So the lady calls me back on a Thursday. She's like, Greg, the paperwork you sent me, which was from the FBI, the paperwork you sent me doesn't show that you have power of attorney over this, and we can't send it to you.
Oh, no.
She goes, we'd have to send it to them first, and they'd have to fill out another form and send it back to us since they're the ones that are requesting it for you. We don't know that they're requesting it for you. We can't, validate that person with FBI is who they are. I said, are you kidding? I said, what more information do you want besides an officer at your office?
Yeah.
Like all the documentation was like legit and very clear cut. So she's like, well, sorry, I can't do anything with it. I'll have to send all this back to you. I said, do not send it back to me until I call you tomorrow. Okay, well, if you don't call me by 10 o'clock tomorrow, we're just going to have to return all your mail. Okay, I'll call you back before the end of the day. I called my FBI guy. I said, dude, I said, she just told me that your documentation is not valid enough for her to process the power of attorney for me. He's like, you're kidding me. I said, no. to just send everything back to me. Now, in the meantime, this is going on 3-4 months.
That is
This is
nice.
this is going on 4 months now. He's like, Greg, he says, I'm going to make sure you get that freaking truck title before I retire. And I retire in August. So it's like 3 weeks away from his retirement. He's like, you're going to get the title of this truck no matter what. He says, give me that lady's number. So, and he was very assertive like that. So I gave him the lady's name and number. No joke, Matt. 40 minutes later, she called me back saying, everything's good, sir. Your lien release will be in the mail and a copy of the title. The FBI guy calls me back and says, did she call you back already? I said, she absolutely did.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, yeah, I spoke to someone that's not just sitting at her desk. So I don't know who he called.
Oh yeah.
or what department he went through, but I had that title within, I don't know, 7 minutes of that last phone call with that lady.
I guarantee that lady at the DMV probably owed taxes somewhere and did not want anybody to know this.
Something. It was hilarious.
He had something on her.
He did. I think he definitely just pulled rank with somebody in that building, that's for sure.
Yep.
So, but I after going on just under 6 months, I had the clear title in my name, all with the FBI's help.
That is so crazy. I have never needed the FBI to give me a title on a car. Although that would be a good route to go if you really needed something. It's like, yeah, I got this guy over at the FBI that'll take care of everything for us.
I wish I had a guy like that in my back pocket every day.
Right? That is so crazy. But I mean,
and then I ended up sending him like a little cool retirement gift, thanks for his help. But it was an entertaining story, and there's no way I would have been able to do it by myself without that support.
That is so wild, man.
It was. So finally, I have the title of this truck. I finally own the truck, all clean and clear, keys, paperwork, and I'm probably going to start building it the way I've imagined it next year.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get out of these summer months before you start on that, man, because nobody wants to work on the armored truck in the middle of the summer, especially if you got to do anything on the inside, I'm sure of.
No, everything is so heavy.
Oh God, yeah. So what's the plans for it when you start getting it going?
Well, I'm gonna make it a full custom, believe it or not. Let's see something real quick. I'm gonna make it a full custom. I mean, I've always been into the custom trucks. I think this truck is gonna be, second to none, and I'm excited to get it done pretty quick.
Man, yeah, we'll be excited to see that for sure. Because like you said in the beginning of the show, you're not going to see this. This is not something that anybody has. Well, I mean, there's probably a few crazies out there like yourself that are building, one-off things like that. But an armored truck, nobody's heard of it.
Okay, so here, I'm going to send you a picture of it right now, but don't share too much of the details. I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek that I just sent you, and this is what I'm gonna do to it. I already have all the parts and pieces for it. I already got some motor parts coming.
Oh yeah, yeah, folks. What he sent me, it looks like exactly what I thought he would probably be doing with this truck. That is wild. We will definitely be excited to see that.
Right? Have you ever seen that type of truck on the road or at a show?
No. When I was doing Whistle and Wolf Media, one of our sponsors was a hot rod shop that they did a little bit of everything. And they picked up some 40s model, what are they, Diamond T?
Oh, yeah.
Like the semi-trucks?
Yeah.
And they were doing like some custom, and then they did a custom milk truck as well. So,
right.
I've seen some one-off oddball trucks, but I've never seen an armored truck done like that. Definitely not. So, and then of course, one of our sponsors too is the Phoenix Insurance. And if anybody's gone to car shows in the Dallas area, there's a few shows that they hit outside of that as well,
Right.
that they go to and vend at. They take out a really cool milk truck that has their logos painted all over it, and it's pretty neat to see stuff like that. So we will be interested in seeing that when you're done with it for sure.
Can you honestly tell me you've ever seen a truck like that ever?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Of course, I hadn't seen what an international slant window looked like, until you told me about this truck that you're gonna start working on, and I'm like, what does that even look like? And then you send me these pictures, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be wild.
Can you see how that slant windshield like makes the whole look?
Yeah, it's very sleek. It kind of just gives it that whole aerodynamic feel to it. Yep. So customizing that and giving it the visual aesthetic, it shouldn't be too hard at all to make look cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited, and like I said, this truck has been in my mind since pretty much the Italian Job movie came out.
Yeah, and they customized those minis as well. I remember that they were having. I mean, I know it's all in the story of how they needed to do the heist, but they had to up what the suspensions would be and all that kind of stuff to make those be able to carry the loads that they were going to carry. So things like that is really interesting to me.
Yeah, I'd have to validate the story, but I heard that the Mini Coopers that were used in the underground subway scenes were converted to electric because they couldn't have the exhaust underground.
Oh, really?
So those 3 Coopers that were used under the subway were electric.
Wow, probably the only electric Mini Coopers you'll see right now.
Right.
Until Mini decides to jump on the bandwagon with the rest and create their own electric car.
Right.
The beginnings of Mini Cooper being electric cars was the Italian Job. Yeah, we'll have to look that up. That is interesting.
Yeah, actually, I just looked it up. It says the Minis in 2003's Italian Job were electric because LA didn't want fumes in the subway tunnels.
I mean, that makes total sense. I would imagine they don't.
Yep. So yeah, see, so that movie had it had a bunch of cool different angles to it.
Yeah. You know what? That's another car movie that people don't give enough credit to. One of the topics that'll be on some of our podcasts in the future will be the car movies that got you into what you're into now. So we're gonna talk about a few of the different movies, but I haven't even thought of the Italian Job. I mean, there's a whole lot of aspects to that job to that movie. I mean that the typical car guy would probably get into.
Yep. So right now I'm excited to have this truck in my possession, and I'll keep everyone posted in the next year and a half as it starts to come together.
Absolutely, Greg. Greg, I want to thank you and GEEZZUP.com. The Kustom couple hit our first goal with our social media, and we had set a goal a while back to have that when we hit 1,500 followers on our Instagram that we would do a giveaway, and you stepped up right away and gave us some things to do for that. And this week I will be putting some stuff in the mail for our winners. I haven't told anybody what the things were. So it's going to be a surprise to our winners out there, and and all of the folks that are listening into the podcast, thank y'all for constantly giving us the metrics that have been growing each week. So a big thank you, Greg, for all of your help with this. And then of course we've always appreciated you coming on to the show and talking with us about for one, these long lost stories that you've come up with, and then all the advice and stuff on buying and selling cars, man. It's definitely been entertaining, to say the
Well,
least.
good. Well, good. Yeah, thanks for letting me be a part of you and Sam and your project, and anything I could do in the future to support you guys. Count me in.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we've been running and gunning this last week. Now that Sam's in the running for Miss Beatersville, so we will be at the we will be at Beatersville. That's the car show happening in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yep.
The last weekend of May, and
Yep. I voted. I already voted for her, so she's going to win.
She absolutely is going to win. Man, it has been crazy, and of course, the husband that I am, I've been out beating the drum like crazy, trying to get the votes in for her on the online voting and all that they've got going on. I'm sure the people at this car show are just like, wow, these people are nuts, coming out of Texas.
Right.
Because
let them think that.
we have we have absolutely loved the amount of support that Sam has been getting. We're stoked to go see another car show that we haven't been to before. And then the fact that she gets to be in the pinup contest, it's just another feather in her hat for being able to participate in something as cool as that. And then we're going to get to see our friends Mikey Brown and Trent Sherrill, with Speed and Culture and with Paper to Pavement. We're just stoked for this show. A lot of some of our hooligan friends that we used to be in the Hooligans Car Club. They're going to be out there, and they're helping promote for. It's just we've been getting support from all over the place. So it has just been absolutely wild, and it's gonna be really cool after this show happens, because I feel like a lot of things are gonna like really expand after that. So
yeah, well, congratulations to where you guys are at now, and just keep pushing. I think good things will come to you guys.
absolutely, Greg. Well, let you get back to what you normally do and let our customers, our listeners out there. I always like to mess with some of the guys that write into us, because I call them customers all the time. But no, our listeners out there that have been doing amazing things and getting the numbers up for us, and thank you guys. Folks, y'all get back to your regular, normal, daily lives, and in all things custom, keep it cool.